Good day, welcome to Great White Retro. I'm Gord Fessick. Gigi, jump up. Gigi, up. Good day, welcome to Great White Retro. I'm Gord Fessick. This is my dog Gigi. Okay, down please. Good girl. Our topic today is the Tigerton lot. We've got two Commodore 64s, an original Breadbin and a rebuilt Breadbin using a custom case from South Australia. We'll figure out the mystery of this strange case that existed before the 64C. With any luck, we'll get these computers working. Let's get her done. So among the claims of this case manufacturer is that the case was made out of plastic that would not yellow. Well, it didn't yellow, it turned brown. Golden brown. Either that or Tigerton, Wisconsin has some pretty harsh weather. But we can tell this is the keyboard from a Breadbin 64. This is the power LED from a Breadbin 64, and I suspect that 3 of the 6 case screws here actually came from its companion over here, because they look awfully familiar. But let's get into the history of this South Australian case before we take it apart. Subscriber Maria Angstrom supplied photographs of her Slimline case for comparison. I couldn't find information about this unusual computer case. The name Micro Accessories only returned a few search results for this case with nothing on the company itself. The Australian Business Registry only has records dating back to 1999. The North American reseller Grapevine Data Products appears in Texas, which started in '87 and dissolved in March 1990. The UK reseller Evesham Micro started in '83 but dissolved in 2008 and at least fared a bit better than the others. They also did a new firmware called Dolphin DOS that this case directly refers to on a switch panel right here. Alright, let's take a look. Yep. It's a Breadbin with a moderately rusted RF shield. And it is being used as a heatsink, so we're going to have to try to de-rust this. I have some new equipment to deal with this. Yeah, okay, case screw. The Aussie case does not use the separate panel. This panel is integrated, so we got to be careful with this. The RF shield on the RF modulator is rusted. But let's see if we can get some life out of this guy. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this was that funny white screen. And it's actually gotten worse since we tried it last time. First it claimed to have only 30K free. Now it claims to have, well, this. Well, since we got these machines, we picked up some diagnostics. We've got Commodore 64 2-in-1. This is from Dylan Electronics in New York. He's an eBay vendor, and he was able to take care of some issues for me as well. So this is a 2-in-1 diagnostic and dead test. Well, it looks pretty dead, so let's see what the dead test has to say. That's a whole lot of nothing. And neither of the resets are doing anything. Does the diagnostic even boot? Oh, it's trying to. Nope, we get a whole lot of nothing. Back to the dead test. I mean, it literally might be dead. Well, that is not encouraging. Let's move on to the Breadbin then and see if we can get anything resembling life out of either of these systems. Okay, well, this is giving us absolutely nothing. Let's try the dead test. Well, completely dead. Well, I believe these boards are more or less identical. My understanding is that black screen could be something very simple as a dead PLA. Well, since we got some life out of this other machine, I'm going to swap PLAs. In fact, I'm going to swap chips one at a time until we get something different. This should be the PLA. Make sure these parts match. 906114, 906114, revision 1, okay. The assembly numbers are identical. So let's plop in the PLA from the Aussie board. See if we get something different. Hey, out of memory. Well, that's encouraging. So we've got a bad PLA, and now we've got this RAM problem here. So this is gonna be a bit of a pain. Let's see if we have any spare parts that can help us deal with that. Okay, so on the Aussie machine, we have that lovely suspect MT RAM that Adrian Black loves to rant about. So already this is suspect. There's one part that looks a little different. That's the Oki one. Over on the other system, we have MT RAM again, and this Mitsubishi one that I'm not sure what condition it's in. Now, these are 4264s. I don't know what a 4264 is. I'm hoping it's the same thing as a 4164. If it is, I might be able to stand a chance to replace them with a pair of 4464s that I got for the Commodore 16. But I did order 4 parts and I'm only using 2 of them in the C16. Let's see if we can do something with those. But you know, now that we got some life out of this, even if it does say out of memory, let's see what the dead test has to say. Okay, flashing white. I think that corresponds with the out of memory complaint that we were getting. So this one Mitsubishi part. Oh, it just does 1. It's like, I got no RAM at all, dude. Let's see if I can get these 4464s installed in one of these 2 boards. I first thought, though, let's see if we can recover some of this MT RAM. Maybe some of it was good. That would still involve me getting at the underside of this board, which meant a lot of grief getting the bottom half of this RF shield off. Much like the VIC-20 Revision 2 board, I had to poke and prod at it. I used the desoldering pump because it could put out more heat. That might have proven to be the desoldering pump's downfall, though, because, well, you'll see in a bit, I was struggling with this tool to remove the RAM shortly after. I did, however, at least get this board free, and then I followed up with the same process on the Aussie case board. Even though I don't trust this MT RAM from the Aussie case board with the good PLA that I borrowed, since I'm borrowing that, I might as well borrow the RAM. And maybe I'll get lucky and some of this RAM will be good. At least good enough to get full memory on there. Well, I did make some headway cleaning up these joints. Much like with the TRS-80, I tried to do 1 pin on 1 chip at a time. I don't know what happened, but at some point during this process, something got jammed up the tube of the desoldering pump. I was struggling to get this thing cleaned out. Something in there was glowing red hot when the thing was turned up to maximum temperature, though. Yeah, it's jammed up now. I'll have to come back to that once it's cleaned out. Okay, so a frustrating evening later, I've got the second board. This is the one out of the Breadbin, but it has the PLA from the Aussie machine. I have gone and cut out all of that MT RAM. Ended up using a pair of flush cutters. I'll link to an Adrian Black video that explains how to do that so you don't damage the board too much when removing this old RAM. I kept the original socket that I found in, this is U12, and I added some sockets. These are two 8-pin sockets in U10. My plan is to put 4464s in here, but bend out certain pins and then run them out to the other locations. So I will replace 8 4164s with 2 4464s, or at least I'll try to, based on some details I found on Lemon 64. There were photos, the photos are long gone, but I will try to generate new ones. Wish me luck. This is the schematic for the Commodore 64 Revision A board's RAM bank, but let's simplify it a lot here. We've got our 8 chips with 64 kilobits each. We have our address lines from 0 through 15. We have a refresh line coming from the VIC chip. We have a read-write signal to tell the chips which way data is going. The chips themselves have a data in and data out, but on the 64 they're tied together, and they output to data lines 0 through 7 each. Because the data in and out lines are shared, modifying this to use 4464s is pretty simple because we just have to run the data lines direct. There is an extra output enable signal, but because the 64 uses a different bus transceiver separate from this, we can just tie that low. We can almost drop a 4464 RAM into a 4164 socket, except the package is actually 2 pins longer, and several of the signals have been rearranged. We can bend out the pins that we need to, but the majority of the pins will fit. But there's just one other problem, and that's that the actual address and data lines used are rearranged by quite a bit. But in practice, it doesn't matter, because as long as it sorts out in the end, as long as you are consistent with how you're using these RAM chips, you could do the address lines in any order, you could do the data lines in any order, as long as you use the same order throughout your design. And that's what we're going to do here. I got a pair of 4416s in here I'm using as placeholders. So I need pins 2 or 14 open on either side. Alright, so I got pin headers in the ground pins here. Okay, that's one ground. Now two more of them. I don't have any 2K pull-up resistors. I'm gonna have to use 1K. Or pull down, rather. Ow, 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 that's hot. Alright, these are the ground and signal and the output enable pins. Now we need our data pins. And it doesn't matter which one goes to where as long as we're consistent. So this jumble of wires here doesn't look like much, but it's the plan for something. Basically, most of the pins will work, but because the chip is actually 2 pins longer, we need to do a bit of bodging around here. So we got the ground pin tied to ground, we got the output enable pin tied to ground through a 1K ohm resistor, and we've got data lines D1 through 4 hooked up to different nearby empty spots, and D3 is supplied directly. And apparently it doesn't matter what address line goes to what address line or what data line goes to what data line as long as you are consistent. Well, let's try powering this on. I honestly don't expect this to work because I still only have the 4416s in here. But I am kind of curious to see what I end up with. Oh, well, that's different. Commodore 64 Basic, 14 kilobytes free. Well, I suppose that's to be expected. Let's put the 4464s in here and see what we get. Okay, here are the 4464s. Let's see what we end up with. Hey, there we go. 38911. And this little guy was the one in the Breadbin that gave us no life until we replaced the PLA. Well, obviously this little hack job doesn't count, but it can serve as a base for doing some permanent modifications to the underside of this board. And let's get the diagnostic harness on here to make sure that we don't have anything lingering with this machine here. Okay, so with this RAM mess that we've got the diagnostic harness hooked up with a longer keyboard cable for use on the 64C, our serial loopback, our game port loopback, and a 2-in-1 that I also picked up. Let's see what we got. Okay. That's encouraging. Back on the IUC port is okay. Okay, we'll let this run for a little bit. I can't let it run for too long as I do not have heat sinks on these chips. I would need to put the RF shield back on it to get heat sinking right now. But I'll take it for right now and see what we end up with. Well, in spite of some frustration with the tools, we managed to at least get one board working, and with any luck we'll be able to get the other board working once we get in some replacement parts. On the next episode we'll clean up the cases, we'll make this bodge a little more permanent. What a mess. And with any luck we'll get the other board working, we'll look at some floppy drives, and we'll make some more progress on our Tigerton lot in future episodes. Until then, good day.